to start, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how to navigate the user interface in Fusion. And for this video, I'm going to focus on the tools that we'll be using for this tutorial. I do have a full breakdown of the whole of the user interface, so if you'd like to watch that video to get more details, then you can watch that one after this. So we're going to be working in the design workspace. So that's this drop down here, and then you click on design. You'll most likely start off in this. And we're going to be working in the solid modeling tab. It's good to get a grip on solid modeling first before you start moving into more of these advanced features that are over here in these tabs. So for this tutorial, we'll be focusing on design, and we're going to be solid modeling in this workspace. But just to give you a brief overview, as you click through these, you'll notice that you've got different colors for each one. So solids is laid out in blue like this, and then you can see here for surface modeling, you've got orange, and then mesh is laid out in yellow. And it's just helpful to know this, just to make sure you're working inside of the right tab when you're in here. Now, to give you a quick overview of some of these areas. So inside this area here, it's called the design workspace. And this is where you'll be able to see your design and also interact with it as well. Then, on the left here, you've got the browser. And the browser stores all of your data about how your design is, and it's basically just like a file manager to keep track of all your parts. This will make more sense when we start to create the design, and you'll see how it's working. And then, on the bottom here, we've got the timeline. And the timeline stores a history of your designs. So to navigate then, for this tutorial, we're going to be using this, which is called the view cube. And if you click on the view cube, you can actually see that you can rotate the view around. So that's just an easy way to do it, because I don't know, some people might be working with their trackpads on their laptops or might not have a mouse with them. So it's just an easy way to rotate your view around, or alternatively you can click on this and this will show you the front view, and then you can click back on home and see it again in 3D. If you are using a mouse, you can use it to zoom in and zoom out using the scroll wheel, or by pinching on a trackpad. But I would recommend, if you're going to be using CAD a lot, to use a mouse with a clickable scroll wheel, something like a Logitech MX3 for example. Also, something else to point out here, if you do ever get stuck, there's actually a help menu up here as well. And also you can view all of your profile information if you click on your profile picture up here. And then this top bit basically works like Safari or like an internet browser, where you can open new tabs for new designs. And the first thing that I want to show you is how to save your design. Okay, so I'm going to click on save. And I'm just going to call this one disc brake, because in this video we're going to be creating a disc brake. More specifically for this tutorial, a rotor of a disc brake. So we can call this the name here, and we're going to save this to this location here. So if I drop this down, and I'm just going to move this box up, you can now see that we're going to choose a location for this project. So if we press our new project here, we can also call this one disc brake. And I'm going to be saving this one to the disc brake project. And remember, Autodesk Fusion is a cloud-based software, so these files will get saved to the cloud. And now we click on save. And the first thing that we want to do is come up to here and click on new component. So I'm going to come up here and click on that. And here we have various options, but the main one we want to use for this is the name. And we're going to call this one disc brake 2. So I'm just going to click OK on that. And one thing to mention is that I'm using the standard layout for this tutorial. So yours should already be set to default, but if you want to follow along with me, then you can reset these to defaults. And I'll also be using the drop-down menu for the units in millimeters, which you're able to change with this pencil if you'd like. So if you're currently using inches, then you can use this pencil and modify it to millimeters to follow along as well. So I'm going to drop that back down now. And now, a disc brake is circular. So for the first section of this, we want to use what's called a revolve. And if you hover over these, it actually gives you a sort of outline of what these tools can do. So that can be really useful for a beginner if you just want to hover over them and see what they're doing. So first of all, we want to create a revolve. But the first thing we need to do that is to create a sketch. So if I click on Create Sketch here, then I want to draw this on the plane here. And if I drop down in this Origins menu, you can see that this is the XZ plane. So we're going to click on the XZ plane, and you can see now that it rotates our view around. And this allows us to create a drawing on this plane. So we can drop this back down now, because we don't need that for the time being. And we're currently in the sketch tools. So you'll notice up here, these have actually changed to sketches. And now, compared to the other tools, they're different to what we had before. So first of all, we're going to draw the outline for our disc brake. And then we're going to be creating the revolve. So let me show you how to do that. So we want to click on this line tool here, and also something else that's useful with this. If you look at these letters in brackets, it actually gives you keyboard shortcuts to use that tool. But I'm just going to click on these buttons for now. And what we want to do first is we want to click on the center point here. And you'll notice that the line tool is just drawing and it's stretching itself out, kind of like a bungee cord. So you can stretch this out in each direction, and I just basically want to put something like, I want to put it on this red line here. And you can see, highlighted in blue, that my dimensions are already highlighted. So this means I can type in a number on the keyboard, and it will put it to that dimension. So the dimension that we want to use here is 131. And then I want to press enter on my keyboard, and that will draw my first line. Now, you can see this line has turned black, and that's because the line is fully constrained. It uses these sketch constraints here, and also this dimension to define itself. And that's a really good thing in Fusion. You want to try and keep all your lines as defined as you can. So don't copy this because I want to show you an example. But if I click on the line tool here, and I just draw some random lines in space, you can see that this one is a blue colour. Now, what that means is the line is unconstrained, and it can really move around to where it wants to. And I'm just going to delete that because that was just an example. Now, what we want to do is we want to click on the line tool again, and we want to click on this point up here from where I've just drawn. And we want to come up by 7mm. And I'm just going to drag these dimensions out just to keep my drawing nice and clean and tidy. Now we want to click on the line tool again, and we want to come along the other way. Let's say 5mm. And then we're coming back across the way we came, at a right angle. And let's just drag this down to keep it clean. And we're going to use the line tool again. So let's draw up another line, 7mm, and then hit the enter key. And now let's draw back across to where we was again. And that will be 5mm this time, and then hit enter. So let me just move this out of the way so you can see that. And we're going to draw this up again, 7. And then hit the enter key. So again, I'm just going to move these dimensions out of the way to keep this neat and tidy. And so we can see what we're doing. And then I'm going to draw and click on the line tool again. And I'm going to draw all the way across here. And making sure that it's at right angle, 90 degrees. And then I'm just going to click back down here and finish off where I started. Now, you can see that I'm still in the line tool here. So if I click the line again, it will just start drawing more lines. So to exit out of it, I'm going to hit escape on the keyboard. And let me just show you something now, don't copy this. If I draw a line that I don't want, I can click on it and then press delete on my keyboard to get rid of it. Now you can see that we've got this here, And it's a good thing because the shape has turned blue, which means all the edges are connected. So we're happy with that now. And what we can do is finish this sketch. Or alternatively, you can come up here and click Finish Sketch. Now, I'm just going to use this view cube up here, and if I click on that and rotate this around 3D, you can see what I've drawn here. Now we want to create the 3D shape of our disc brake. So what I'm going to do is click on Revolve. Now we're inside the Revolve menu. You can see here, because I've already clicked on it, inside of the profile, we've already got it selected. So that's good, but if not, just click on it and click on Profile here. Then you can select the shape. And the axis that we want to rotate around is going to be the Z-axis. So if I click on that, you can see that it uses the profile to revolve, and it draws it all the way around 360 degrees. So, if you copy all the settings that I've got here for this, then we're going to click on OK, because we're happy with that. Now the way you can build things up inside of Fusion is now, once I've drawn this one, I can actually draw on this top surface here. So now I've shown you the Revolve tool, I want to show you the Extrude. So first of all, what we want to do is we want to create a sketch. So I'm going to click on Create Sketch. And you can see now that it's sketching on this top face up here that's higher up. And what we want to do here is we want to draw a center diameter circle. So I've shown you the line tool, and now I'm going to show you how to draw a circle. So I click on that. And then I come down here to the center point, and you can see that it's highlighted because it places it on the center point. And then here I click. And now, once I've let go of my mouse button, you can see that it's sort of stretching, and we've got our dimensions highlighted here. So this one's going to be 125mm, and I'm going to type that in on my keyboard and hit enter. And then I click on Finish Sketch. And then I can use this view cube over here. If I click down on that, I rotate the view background to 3D. Or alternatively, I click on this corner here, and this is going to give me a good view. And now you can see that I can select it here. So I click on the center portion here, and then I click on Extrude. And now I've got this arrow that I can lift up and down. So I'm basically just stretching this out. And the height of this one is going to be 20mm. And you need to make sure that you copy all the settings that I've got here. And it's important that this one is set to join, because that's going to attach the two pieces together. And that's all okay, so I'm going to click OK. And now you can see that we've got our basic shape. And the outline of our disc brake. And a disc brake shape actually has cutouts in the center here. So now I'm going to show you how to do that with using the tool called Sweep. Now, the sweep wouldn't be the most efficient way to do this, but I want to show you how to use a sweep in this tutorial, because a sweep is one of the most essential tools inside of Fusion, so it's good to show it to you now, which is this tool here. So if I click down on this create here, and then I drop this down to show you, but first of all we need to create a sketch. So I'm going to click out of that, and what I'm going to do is click on Create Sketch. And I want to click on this plane here and sketch again on this plane. And all I'm going to do on this plane is click on the line tool and then click on the center point and draw up. And this will be 75mm. So I've drawn that in millimeters. And then I press enter. And I'm going to click on Finish Sketch. And then I'm going to use the view cube to rotate this around into 3D. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to create another sketch, but this time it's going to be on a different plane. It's going to be on this plane here. So I click on this plane, and then I want to draw a center diameter circle. And again, I want to draw it from the center point. A good tip for drawing whenever you're drawing inside of Fusion is to always try and draw from the center point and keep your model centered. And this just helps with the design in case you need to go back and make any changes. So click on the center point here and then stretch this out. And I want this to be 65mm. And then I hit enter, and on this I click finish sketch. And for me, you can see this has automatically gone back round to viewing the model in 3D, as you can see here. But if it hasn't, then just click on this view cube and move it around so that you can see it. And something that you might actually have to do is to click on these sketches. But you can see here the disc brake is a solid body, and it might get in the way of this. So if I drop down my browser here by dropping these down, and you can see my body that is here, and I want to click on this. And the body is this one. So to make this easier, I actually want to make this invisible, so now you can see the sketch that I've created here. So now what I want to do is I want to click on this and drop this down and come down to sweep. Now, for my profile, I want to select this profile, which is a circle. And then for the path, I select this line here, so I click on it. So that means that it's actually going to follow this line here. And you can see that this is drawn a cylinder. However, currently this cylinder is going to add an extra body. So if I show you this current body, you can see that it automatically changes my operation to a cut. And that's actually going to cut out a hole. So if it hasn't done this automatically for you, come down to this operation and then change this from join to cut. And your hole will be cut out. So I'm really happy with that, and I'm going to click OK on that. Now, the next thing that I want to do is to show you how to create patterns. So this saves time, and it's really good to create patterns in Fusion. And I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to click on the top surface here. Then I'm going to click on Sketch. And now, up here, I want to find the center point between this line and also this line. So how do I do that? Well, if I click the line up here, then I make sure that this is a circle. And then I'm also going to click on this green line. I click on this, and it's roughly going to work out where the center of this is. Then I come back up to the top of the circle here and I click. And I'm still inside the line tool now. So I need to press on Escape. And this is currently drawing a line that may affect our model. So I want to show you something now. So if you click on this and then tap X on the keyboard, in this line type here, it's actually created a construction line. And construction lines won't affect your model. It's just giving you a reference for where to place things. So I want to create a circular cutout. So if I click on Circle, and I just sweep along this line, when a blue small triangle comes up, it's quite hard to see in here, but once it does come up, if I click on it, I'm actually in the center point now. So this circle will be drawn in the center. And these two holes want to be 13.8mm. So once I've typed that in, I can click, and it defines my shape. And I'm still currently in the circle tool. So I want to press on Escape. So once we're happy with that, we want to click on Finish Sketch. And then we want to rotate this background to 3D. So we can use our view cube to do this here and spin this around. And then just pan back down a little bit. And then what we want to do is click on the extrude tool. And then click on this surface here. And notice that we've got some arrows. What we want to do is we just want to cut a hole out and all the way through. And you can go right down to the other side with this. It doesn't matter exactly how far it is, but I've done 100 millimeters. And then make sure that it's set to cut and then click on OK. Now you can see that we've cut out one of our holes, but we actually want to do 4 holes on each of these quarters. So how do we do that? Well, if I click here, create, and then I come down to the pattern, then what I want to do is click on circular pattern. And we want to create a pattern for this hole cutout here. So the object that we want to pattern is actually a feature. So I click this drop down here, and then what I do is I click on feature. Then I can use the timeline here and click on this to cut out. Then I've got this object here. Then I click on the axis, and as you can see, the axis and the origin are up here. And the one that I want to use is the blue one. So I click on that. And it's starting to show you the cutouts. But we actually want to do 4 for this. So I type in 4 here. And then I'm just going to rotate the view around to check it out. Yeah, as you can see, this is on each of the quarters. So I'm really happy with that. So if you just look at these settings that I've got here, and make sure you've copied all of the settings that I've got. Then you can click on OK. Now you can see we've actually got the 4 holes of our disc brake. So next, what I want to show you is something called a fillet. So fillet is here. And it basically allows you to round edges. Now, this will help with our rendering process as well. Because no objects have completely 90-degree angles in real life. So even just a small fillet will make your rendering look much more realistic. So I'll click here in the fillet, and I'm just going to do all of these at the same time. So it's going to be a bit complicated. But what I want to do is click on all of these lines here. So this line here, and I also want to click all of these circles here. I also want to click this line here, which meets this edge. And I want to do this with all these lines. And I also want to do these lines. And you're going to have to move the view cube around to select them. It's a little bit awkward, but if I zoom in, I want this line as well. And I also want to do the underneath. I want this line and this line. And yeah, also this bottom line as well. And then I'm going to flip this upside down. And I'm just going to do the underneath as well. You won't see them in the render, but it's good to be thorough with it. And I'm just going to pan this across. And don't worry if this is a bit fiddly when you first get started. Once you get used to the navigation, it's easy. It's like driving a car. So don't worry too much if you can't click all of them, but I've just selected them for now. And then, in this edges here, we want to define how big the fillet is. And we're just going to do a small 1mm fillet. But just to give it a bit of a curve. And then yeah, we're happy with this, so I'm going to click on OK. And there we have our disc brake. So it's important to rename your items. So to rename it, what you can do is if you just click on it slowly twice, then you can see that this blue box comes up. And I can call this body 1 disc brake. It's just good practice to rename these things. So you know what they are. And then I can click off. So I've got that named, and then I'm just going to click on this box down here. And because it's completed, I'm going to click on Save. And then, for the rendering process, I'm actually going to draw a ground plane, because this is going to make things look much more realistic when we do the rendering. So I'm going to zoom right out for this, and I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to click on Disc Brake. So that's got the whole assembly in there. And then, from there, I want to click on a new component, and I want to call this one Ground. And I want to click on OK. So once I've called that ground, I just want to draw on the ground plane here. So if I click on that, and then I draw a 2-point rectangle, and I'm going to create a gigantic ground that just covers this whole area. So I've clicked the top here, and now I've clicked down here. And I'm not going to worry about putting dimensions on here. This is just to help us. And you'll see here what I mean about sketches being unconstrained. Because the lines are blue. Then I'm going to hit escape because I'm still in the square tool. Then I want to click on Finish Sketch. And I want to create this with an extrude. So I click on it and I click on Extrude. And what I want to do is I want to rotate the view around. And drop this down by pulling on this arrow here and putting it down to -100. And this is fine really for what we're doing at the moment. And if you just take a note, make sure that you've got all of these settings the same as me. And then you want to click on OK. And then we want to click on Save again. So we've got that saved. And let's rotate our view around again. And zoom in a bit. Now you can see we've got our disc brake sitting on some ground here. And yeah, I'm really happy with that. I'm really liking how this is coming out. So you can see we're currently in a design mode. And now I'm going to show you how to quickly do a render. So we click on the design here and we come back down to render. Now you'll notice that we're currently in the render workspace and it doesn't look that realistic. But don't worry too much about that for now. I'm just going to show you quickly how we can do a render. Just so you can show people a visualization of your product. So we're going to move this view around, and the view that you see here is basically your camera angle. So whatever you set up in here as the camera angle will be what you'll see in your final shot. So move this into the position that you'd like your rendering to be in. Then, don't worry about these down here. I've just been doing some practices before this video, so you most likely won't see any pictures down here yet, and that's okay. Then, if we click this appearances here, at the moment in this design, you can see that it's set up with satin steel. So I'm just going to move this up and also drag this down. And you can see that we've got a search bar here, or alternatively, we can go through this library. So I've currently got quite a lot of these folders open. If you haven't used this before, then most likely all of these will be closed for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and close all of these down. But we also have a search here. Now I want my disc brake to look like it's made from iron. So I'm just going to type in here the material iron. And I'm going to drop this polished iron into my design here. And to do that, you drag the material onto the piece that you want to be that material. And then for the ground here, I want this to be like a sort of shiny white plastic, kind of like the product is sitting on a table. So I can scroll through these and click on plastic. Also, one thing to note, you might have to download these, and you can do that with these little icons here. And if you haven't got the materials yet, you'll need to click on download. And I'm just going to choose this plastic. Which one should we have? Well, I'm not sure exactly what this is, but yeah, let's drag this on and try it. Now we have our appearances. And I'm going to close this by clicking on close. Then, if I come up here to the scene settings, we have loads of different details that you can play around with here. And this will change the scene. So I'm going to leave the brightness how it is for now. And moving this slider up and down can increase the brightness of the room that the product is in. And these solid colours and stuff like that won't be affected because we've got our own ground plane. And for the camera settings, it's important to have the camera on perspective because you're going to see like how a camera lens would see basically. And we want to replicate that for realism. And then 90mm, yeah, that's a good focal length for a product like this. So we're going to leave this how it is. And for the depth of field, I find that this makes the rendering look more realistic. So I want to tick this. And once you've ticked it, you'll have this like little green dot. And that's basically where the camera focus is going to be. And it's going to blur around the edges once you do your render. So you often see this on nice, expensive cameras, that they can actually have a bit of blur in the background when they take a photo or a video. So this section basically represents a camera's blurry background. And I'm just going to set this to 0.3, but you can change this how you like it. It kind of really depends on your own style. And there's also this environment library here where you can drag on pre-built backgrounds, and this will change the lighting setups. This is really useful as well. But we're happy with the current preset in this tutorial, so I'm going to close that. Now, you may be thinking, well, this doesn't really look that realistic at the moment, but this is just a setup. If we click on this preview render, and I click play here, it's going to start trying to render it in real time, but every time I move my camera, it's going to re-render it again from the start. So you can see that this bar is loading down here, and it gives you a kind of representation of what your rendering might look like. So I'm just going to close out of that by pressing the stop, and there is a lot of other different settings that you can play around with in here. And I do have a full tutorial on that goes into a lot more detail. But for now, I just wanted to show you something quick, so I can show you the capabilities. So if I click on this teapot to render it, and I'm just going to click on video, and I'm actually going to set this to 1080p. Which basically means that it's going to be a HD render. And I'm going to choose local render for this, and standard quality. And then I click on this blue button here to render. Then it's going to come down here, and you're going to have it loading here, and how quickly it loads depends on how fast your computer is. And also the kind of things that you're rendering. So I'm just going to wait for that. Okay, so now it's rendered. So what we want to do is double click on that. So we click on this download here, and I've saved that to my desktop. So yeah, I'm happy with that, and I'm just going to save it. Then I'm just going to open it up. As you can see here, yeah, it's okay. It's a little bit dark, and it could use some different adjustments. And overall, it's quite useful, this platform. You could put this picture into a presentation, or if you wanted to show someone your design, it's really quite helpful to get a quick visualization. So let's close out of that, and then let's come back to design, and we're going to save our design. And I really do hope that this helps you on your product design journey. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it useful, then please do hit that like button and also subscribe. See you in the next one.